everyone, my name is Erica Wood and I'm from the Hopkins County Extension Office, and I'm back with another video. And today I have something really interesting that I'm going to show you. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making these really cool Kokedama balls. And what that basically is it's this Japanese art of being able to grow plants in a moss-covered ball that is, tied together by twine or fishing line, those kinds of things. So you can hang them in your homes from like, a ceiling or a hook, and you could also display them like in a very decorative dish. So very cool, unique practice. And so we're going to be making one together in this video. So that way you guys can learn and then, try it yourselves in your own home. So just to start out with, there's a couple things that you're going to need before we get started. So first thing, of course, is a plant. So, with this Kokedama, we're going to be keeping it indoors. So, houseplants that would do really well in this setting would be things like pothos, philodendron, ferns, begonias, things like that, that are going to do better in this unique type of growing environment that's not in a container, actually. So we've got this little pothos here that we're going to use. And then something else that we're going to need also is I've got this big clump of media here. And you can use, like, what this is like a mix of peat moss and bonsai mix and even some potting mix too. Just using potting mix, works well to be able to, hold the ball together. So that's what we have there. And then, of course, what you're also going to need is moss. So this is interesting. This is preserved sheet moss, and you can pick this up at any kind of craft store, honestly. They'll have it available. And so when we go to make our Kokedamas, you'll need to make sure your sheet moss is pretty damp, just to kind of help hold everything together. So make sure your peat moss is your moss, sheet moss is damp, and make sure whatever soil media, potting mix you're going to use is also pretty wet. Then you're also going to need scissors to be able to cut either your wax string, or if you have twine, whatever your preference is. And then I also have gloves as well, though you don't need to use gloves, but it can get pretty messy. So I'm using gloves today. So let's go ahead and get started with this. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm about to make a big mess here, and I'm going to grab this media, okay? And what I'm going to do is, and this is actually way more than I'm going to need, is I'm going to kind of firm this up into a ball, okay? So make it a nice round sphere, and the size of the ball is going to depend on, the pot, the plant that you have, and what kind of like pot it's in, So I'm just kind of guessing at this point, and if I need to make the ball a little bit bigger, I will. So I'm just going to kind of push these over a little bit so you can kind of see the process a little bit more. Okay, so again, just, really make sure it is nice and moist to be able to firm it up into a ball, okay? That's the big thing. So I want it nice and round. And then once I think it's, pretty round, I'm actually gonna crack it open almost like an egg. I'm gonna break it in half, okay? And so kind of do the best you can, break it in half like that. And I'm going to just kind of gently put it down. It's okay if it falls apart. You can kind of mold it back here in a little bit. Go. So that one's falling apart a little bit, but we're just going to hold on to it like that. Then I'm going to grab my pot of my plant, and I'm going to take it out of its container. So I had just recently repotted this plant, so I know it doesn't have really much of a root system on there, so that's why it was kind of easy to take out. But really what you need to make sure of, whatever plant that you're using, you want to make sure you loosen up as much of the soil around those roots as you can. And honestly, don't be afraid to, to break off some roots. It might happen, but if you have something like a pothos, they're pretty resilient plants that they're gonna do okay. So what I'm gonna do is, I have my piece of my plant, and so I'm gonna kind of put it right here into the center of one of my halves, and I'm just gonna kind of hold it like this, and then I'm gonna take the other piece and then I'm gonna put that on top, and then this is when I'm gonna just kind of again shape it back into that mold. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and grab it off the table. And so, it broke apart a little bit, but it's almost like when you get it nice and wet, like it's almost like working with clay. You can kind of mold it and shape it how you need to, so that's good. Okay, so I had way more soil than I really needed. Okay. I think that's about how I want it. So you can kind of see here. And so what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna grab my sheet moss, okay? So again, I'm gonna kind of clean up my area a little bit because it's a bit dirty. And I'm gonna grab my sheet moss over here. And I'm gonna put it upside down, okay? So I'm putting the green part upside down, and I'm gonna go ahead and put my ball right in the middle. And then again, because it's pretty wet, I'm going to kind of wrap it around. And honestly, I'm gonna take some off because I have, again, a little bit more than I need, So you're just gonna kind of do what I do. And again, I'm just kind of ripping some of this moss off a little bit. I'm gonna mold it together. And I really don't want there to be any soil that can be seen, because you don't want any of that to come out. Okay. All right. So I think I about have it. So it's a pretty sizable Kokedama ball. And so now that I have that, of course, you want to be able to keep the moss on the ball. And so this is where you're going to need some kind of twine or wax string, and really it's just going to depend on your preference and what you like. I really like this black wax string just because it's a little bit more durable, and actually whenever you wrap it around the Kokedama, you don't really see it as well. It kind of becomes invisible in a way, like from a distance. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of start grabbing my string. I'm gonna put my ball on top, and basically I'm just leaving a little bit of this tail. I'm gonna leave a little bit of a tail just so that I can tie that off later. And so then I'm just gonna grab my string, and there is like really no rhyme or reason. You're just gonna wrap it all around your moss ball, okay? To whatever you feel comfortable doing, because the main thing is you just wanna make sure it's not going anywhere, okay? That moss is going to, stay together. So you can put as much or as little as you feel comfortable. Okay, so I'm just wrapping it again in all directions. Okay. Okay. So I think I have it about where I want it. And so I'm going to go ahead and cut it. All right, and then I'm going to tie it to my tail from earlier. And tie it nice and tight. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut off that extra those extra little pieces. So there you can see it's really it's not going anywhere, so it's going to stay together pretty good. And you know, really at this point, what you can do now, you can choose to leave it be as is. You know, maybe put it on top of like a decorative dish or bowl, and just put that, you know, like on a table somewhere. It might make a nice centerpiece to your dining table. Or what you can do is you can hang it. And so hanging it is pretty simple. So I'm just grabbing my string again, and there's a number of different ways you can hang it, okay? But I'm just going to make three threads, and you know, try to make them roughly about, you know, the same size, but if I need to cut them later, I will. So I'm kind of just doing a rough job at this point. All right, so I have my 3 strings, and I'm just going to take my Kokedama ball, and I'm gonna just tie it around, you know, kind of like a little hanging basket. So that is my plan here. Okay, so I've got one. All right, now I'm going to do my other ones. And again, you can hang this a number of different ways. You know, you don't have to necessarily do this method here. All right, and last but not least, there we have it. Okay, so now I've got my 3, and I'm just going to tie them up at the top. And you can make this as long or short as you want, you know, depending on your preference. So I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm gonna cut this back a little bit. All right. And there you have it. There is your way to hang your Kokedama right there. So pretty cool. Again, you can just kind of hang this from a hook, or you can even, you know, tie around like a circle at the top. You know, again, there's just a number of ways you can do that. So you should have your Kokedama all ready to go. And so when it comes to care and maintenance of your Kokedama, this is important. You know, you're going to check on this every couple days, maybe once a week probably is sufficient. And you're going to, soak it like in a lukewarm water for between 5 to 10 minutes, depending. And you're just going to want to make sure it gets nice and moist. And then before you go to hang it up again, just make sure if there's any kind of excess water that you let that drain off, just because you don't want to, make a mess in your home. So yeah, again, soak for about 5 to 10 minutes, lukewarm water every couple days to a week or so. And then when these plants are actively growing in the spring and summer months, you can use some kind of liquid fertilizer, houseplant fertilizer, and make sure they're getting fed. And then when you kind of know that it's time to replant these into a container or into a bigger kokedama ball, just kind of watch the plant. If it seems like the plant has grown in there for a while, it's outgrowing its container, so to speak. This is not really a container, but a moss ball. But it's starting to look like a little bit stressed, or maybe it's, drying up quicker because there's more roots established in there. Those are all things to kind of keep in mind. And then you'll just disassemble this kokedama ball and just start from scratch there. So yeah, pretty simple and really cool and fun. So I hope you all enjoyed this video, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.